Is this game as bad as people are making it out to be? Here's the thing about this game. I feel the same way about this game as I do the hundreds of times I have talked about janky games on this channel. Let me tell you what I mean by that. There are certain things in life that offer both good and bad things, not just gaming. Lots and lots of things in life. Parts of something will be good, parts of something will be bad.
Yeah, that's
And what that means is that when you approach that thing, item, concept, whatever it is, just like a lot of things in life, you can find what you want to out of it. So if you approach this game and you're looking for big open worlds and tons of items and lots of interesting places to explore.
Yeah, I mean, this is kind of true to an extent. Like, if you go in a garbage can, you might be able to find something that's edible. You could eat something that might even taste good. But you could also go in a garbage can and find something that tastes like shit because it's rotten and it should be in a garbage can. But if you look in a refrigerator, there's probably going to be a better ratio of things that might taste a little bit better. But even if you go in a garbage can, you will find some things that taste good.
And cool shipbuilding mechanics and, you know, some decent companions, stuff like that. That's what you're going to get. You're going to have a good time. If you approach this game looking for wide open empty spaces, bugs, stoic faces, and dialogue that sometimes isn't great, not really an immersive world because people are constantly throwing player-oriented stuff at you that makes it obvious it's a game, you're gonna find that too.
Yeah.
So the thing about them like this is that it brings out both sides of the conversation.
It does. I think he's right about this. I mean, Starfield has some positive things to it. You know, like in terms of like making a ship. No Man's Sky, it seems like No Man's Sky, you have probably more agency to make interesting ships. However, Starfield has a much more realistic graphic style. So I think that people might want to make ships in Starfield more because of that. They look more real, you could say. But, and I'm sure there's other things too, right? I mean, people like the stories, etc. So I get that. I think he's right. Sure.
Both right. And I think that's one of the reasons that people are such a problem with this game is because
get a bunch of different kinds
this can be a pretty bad game if you just
Yeah.
focus on the stuff that you don't like about it. It can also be a pretty great game if you just focus on the stuff that you like about it. So, like,
I think it's you say about almost any game, but I think he's right. I mean, there's a lot of people that play Starfield. Here's the truth, right? Is that there are people that love Starfield. There are. They think the game is great. They think it is their game of the year. I'm not saying that it's the game of the year. I'm saying it is their game of the year. There are people who love Dark Souls 2. Now, like in my mind, I cannot comprehend somebody thinking Dark Souls 2 is a good game. I can comprehend somebody enjoying playing the game, right? And I enjoyed playing through it, and I thought some of the bosses were interesting, the world was cool. Yeah, sure. But to say that it's a good game, that's a whole different situation. And you can say that you enjoyed the game. That's a whole different situation. But to say that it's a good game, well, that's something different, okay? So I get what Co-Carnage is saying. I agree with him, right? Is that there are games out there that have a lot of good and a lot of bad. And you want to know a game like that? World of Warcraft. World of Warcraft is like this. And if you play some elements of the game, the worst aspects of the game are so evident and so obvious. However, whenever you go and you just play, you do what you want to do mount farming, transmog, maybe do like a heroic raid, play casually, etc., you'll probably enjoy yourself a lot more than if you try to focus on playing the game in like the most hyper-optimized way. Diablo 4 is kind of the same thing, but there's not really as many ways to play the game, so it's not exactly the same. I'm trying to think of some other games that are a little bit like this. I think basically any open world game, anything like this, Elden Ring or whatever, you can play the game and not have a good time if you're not really trying to have a good time, or if you're doing things that you don't really want to do. And that's one of the double-edged swords of having these like really wide, expansive games, is that people will go into an expansive game. It's like people, like, it's like you put them in a room full of cakes and fucking, you give them like a massage chair, but there's a fork on the ground next to an outlet, and this dipshit manages to electrocute himself. Well, why can't you just sit in a massage chair? Well, why'd you put the fork there? What the hell did you think I was gonna do? And that's just how some people are. Is that they will pursue the thing that they don't like just to prove it to themselves that they don't like it. They're eating shit and they're like, I knew this was gonna taste bad. Give me another one. And yes, this is a risk that these wide open games have. And you with Wulong was garbage. That was a garbage game. I'm not gonna fucking hear anything about it besides that. That was a trash game. It was one of the worst games I've ever fucking played. But anyway, it actually was not one of the worst games I ever played. That's not true. It was not a good game. It's worse than Starfield. I would say it was worse than Starfield. And anyway, I go back, talk about that a whole lot. Doesn't fucking matter. The point is that with Starfield, I don't think Starfield is a 3. I don't think it's like a 1. I don't think it's a 9 either. For me, it's like a 4, 5, or 6. Like, that's what I would say. It's a 4, 5, or 6. It's somewhere in the middle. I say it's probably like, if I had to go somewhere, I'd say it's probably somewhere around a 5. And the reason why that I think it's about a 5 is simply because I don't appreciate what Starfield is. I don't care what Sarah has to say. I don't care about how she feels about being a pilot and this problem where she was a captain and had to make a hard choice with like trying to save people. Like, I don't give a fuck what the hell her problem is. I don't care about her. Who the fuck is this? Just, did I give her a gun? Well, then go shoot these guys. Like, go fucking flank them. I'm going to try to shoot him here, right? I married her. Well, I'm going to marry her too because it gives me 15% experience, and that's the only fucking reason. Like, I'm just not about that kind of stuff. I think the story, if I were to describe the story, and I'm sure somebody is going to say, oh, but you didn't do the other campaign, and if you had done this other quest line, you totally feel differently about it, and you don't really understand, and you can't expect the obvious quest. Nah, shut the fuck up. Shut the fuck up. I did about 30 to 50 quests in the game. And I'd say I think 2 of them, maybe, I know 1. I'm betting maybe another one I forgot about was good. But other than that, I thought that the quests weren't that great. And if I were to describe the narrative in Starfield with one word, that word would be safe. I think it is a very safe story. It's a very vanilla story. It's not exciting to me. It's not edgy. It's not groundbreaking. It's just safe. And that's not bad. There's a lot of people that like safe. But I like seeing crazy shit happen. I do. And so whenever I play the game and none of that stuff happens in a way that I want it to, I guess, then I don't really get the vibe. And I don't really enjoy it a lot. And so that's why I always I hesitated whenever I first played the game a lot, because I didn't really want to shit on the game because I didn't feel like I was the target audience for the game. Does that make sense? Because there's a whole audience of people that they're still playing Skyrim. They're still playing, they love Fallout. They can't wait for the new, and I'll probably play the Oblivion thing too, personally. I mean, I probably will, because I played Oblivion when I was a kid. But what did I do in Oblivion? The same fucking thing I did in Starfield. Exploit shit and kill around and kill people, take their shit. That's it. I just want to be a murder hobo. I don't even want to build, the only reason I built a base is because I needed to get experience. You think I give a fuck about a base? No, why would I care about a base? I want to go into somebody else's base, get their shit. I live on my spaceship. Fuck them, man. And so that's the way that I want to play video games. That's what I like. So whenever there's like a very narrative-driven story with a lot of nuance to it, and, you know, player choice matters, and there's these really fleshed out NPCs. This doesn't really fucking matter to me that much. Now, there are games that it does, and I don't want to say that this is something that I just like categorically dislike or I'm not into, because the truth is there are games that I do feel that way about. But Starfield just didn't really appeal to me in that way. And I've never really been a fan of like Bethesda games, and I also never really said that I wasn't a fan. They just never really appealed to me that much. So whenever I see Starfield, and there are people that just absolutely fucking hate it, and there are people that absolutely fucking love it, I'm really just in the middle. I think it's a decent game. I want to play it, and, you know, like, there's all these traits. I want to see, like, what kind of stupid shit I can do in the game, because I think it's interesting, right? That's one of the cool things about a game like Starfield, is that there's a lot of open-endedness to it. And the open-endedness creates gameplay, at least for somebody like me, that I like to limit test things. I like to limit break things and do stupid shit that I shouldn't be able to do. I like exploiting games. I don't like cheating in games. So I'm not really the audience for this kind of stuff, right? I'm not. But I'm not, I don't think that makes it a bad game. Starfield sucks in the discussion. Well, people don't like it. I get that. I'm going to tell y'all the truth, though. If Starfield wasn't an Xbox exclusive and it released on every console, twice as many people would be talking shit about it. Half of the people running defense for Starfield are just doing it because they're Xbox fanboys. Go ahead and look at some of the popular tweets that people make. Look at their accounts. Look at their profile. Look at what they post. It's all Xbox fanboy shit. And so these people are just playing teamism. They're just playing on the same team as Starfield because their magic black box is better than the other magic black box that's made by the other company. Get the fuck out of here. And y'all see this too, right? Like, I'm not imagining this. You've been on Twitter, you've seen these people that are defending Starfield like fucking crazy, and like you go and like I got called a let me see if I find some motherfucking thing. Look. Let me see. I'll find one right now. This is just a random one I can maybe get. So, I make a tweet about something, and then George Foreman, this is not the guy with the grill, okay? This is just a guy. He says, "You little pony punk." Now, what does pony mean? Sony pony, right? And so I get people tweeting this shit at me all of the time. And so I went and I looked at his profile. Because I do that. It's like going to the zoo. And so let's take a look. Let's see what's going on here. Posting about Starfield. A retweet of an interview of people talking about Starfield. It's obvious how it is a huge chunk of the Starfield hate just wouldn't exist if this was a platform list. So there you go. It's another person. Somebody that takes about the state of Xbox, right? These are Xbox fanboys that are sitting here running defense for this fucking game. And it seems like a bot account. It's not, bro. This guy is he's a real person. He's a real boy. He's probably 37, but he's a real boy. And so that's how he acts. And this is like literally like this dude 1,000 years ago would have been on like the front lines for his king, going out to war against like the fucking crusaders with a rake. You know, like this is the kind of person to do that kind of shit, right? And now he's going out to war with a fucking console. Lord, yeah. And the thing is, though, and it's nothing about Xbox fanboys. They're not special. Well, they are, but they're not uniquely special. The Sony fanboys are the same fucking thing. And they shit on Starfield way more than they need to because it's not on the PlayStation 5. Those would have been the people with the rakes from the other king that were on the front lines. And you know, maybe they got a shovel. The whole discourse around Starfield, and also, you put all of this is under the context of the American social culture war. Oh my God. And you don't want to be in the middle of that. because Starfield had the audacity to add pronouns to the game. And I'm not talking about Z, zer, you know, like we were, like these other weird pronouns you've never heard of. It's his, hers, and theirs. And I understand if you don't want pronouns in the game. I'm not even making an argument whether this is a good or a bad thing. So please, guys, I know that you're typing right now about why it's good or bad. Please understand that your message is going to go into oblivion. Nobody's going to read it, and nobody cares. So just do yourself a favor. Now, what I was going to say, though, is that because Starfield was the kind of game that has now been made a battleground for the American culture war, people like or dislike the game, or defend or don't defend or attack the game based off of that one fact. Just like Hogwarts Legacy, just like, let's see, we got probably a few other games like this. Diablo 4 was kind of like this. Forspoken was a little bit like this. I think that's probably like, maybe I think of one more game that turns into like Atomic Heart. That's a great example. And so these games have now been identified. Final Fantasy 16 a little bit. Yeah, there's a bit of that, but like, again, just a bit. And these games, and none of these games, by the way, really give a fuck about this stuff, right? It's like these developers just don't want to probably deal with it, or they have like a few people that are like really into this kind of shit, and so they just put it in the game. I don't know. But the point that I'm making is that whenever a game is determined to be on one side of that culture war or not, well, then people have already had their opinion on the game decided for them. Because at this point, do you like pronouns? You don't? Well, then you hate Starfield. Do you like pronouns? Do you think that you should have 50 different pronouns? Well, then you love Starfield. Starfield is great. Get with the times. You're on the wrong side of history. And so much of the discourse around Starfield isn't about Starfield. It's about Xbox. It's about PlayStation. It's about pronouns. And that's where we're at.
Grandpa's just said, it's just boring. Absolutely, parts of this game are boring.
Yeah, they are.
Especially if you, like, you know, just do repeatable missions, or just explore worlds, or just stuff like that.
Personally, like, the only fun I ever had in the game was exploring worlds and doing things I shouldn't be able to do. Playing the game as it was intended, I hated it.
So it's the kind of thing where it's you will get what you want out of this game. If you want to have a bad time, you will have a terrible time. It's just like Skyrim or 4 or any of those games. Like it's all the same stuff, and it's all related. So where you say, I think this game's boring, I played this for 20 plus hours and I'm loving it. I haven't been bored yet. I'm always finding something to do.
How many hours have I put into this fucking game? I put 46 hours into this piece of shit. 46 hours.
So it's completely perspective based.
I put 35,000 into WoW. Like, it's not really that much.
So will you like the game? I have no idea. I could not tell you if you're going to like this game at all. Do I like the game? Yes, I'm loving it.
I don't know. I think if you liked Skyrim, you'll probably like this game. If you like fucking like sci-fi shit and like Star Trek, you probably will like this game. No, y'all don't think so? Okay, that's fine.
I'm loving it, even through all the issues and all the problems and all the issues. Like, I'm having a great time with it.
Just head inside, and
I feel like you're gonna be more likely than average to like the game, at least, you know. It has its strengths and weaknesses. It does. Now the r/Starfield. So, you know how you can tell whenever a game sucks just a little bit of dick? I'll tell you how. It's whenever somebody makes a low sodium version of a subreddit of a video game. Now, what this means, low sodium is salt. Low sodium means that it's only for fanboys that want to talk about how good the game is, rather than people that want to talk about it in a critical way. And I think it's important to keep that in mind. Echo chambers. I mean, everybody's got their. I mean, look, everybody's got a right to be in an echo chamber, but I also got a right to say that they're in a fucking echo chamber. Is that true? There's no discourse on the subreddit? Well, I'm just saying that, you know, it's an indicator for me. Whenever there are negative things about the game and people don't want to hear negativity and they make a separate subreddit so they can just circle jerk each other about how good the game is. Yeah, I don't think that's necessarily great. I think CoCarnage brings up a great point, though. He does. If you go into a game that's really open and expansive, that you can do whatever you want, then you intentionally try to do the one thing that's not fun, that you don't enjoy, then yeah, I think that you're making your own fucking mistakes.